On the fourth density, the avatar, or the biological vessel that a soul fragment is attached to, undergoes a rapid cellular evolution, allowing for it to hold more light. The various avatar species develop a crystalline molecular structure, and this evolutionary process is repeated and can be observed on all third density planets. This upgrade happens to all life forms if the consciousness they are connected to wishes to evolve. Some species are not intended to undergo this upgrade as they are serving a specific purpose on only one particular realm. But always remember that ascension is not so much of a physical and biological evolution as it is a spiritual one. Soul fragments are focused on ascension since they are students in the school of Aeon. Nature has nothing to prove to anyone. Animals and plants are merely manifestations of thoughts. Ascension does not need to happen in a physical body. However, an avatar that is hosting a fourth density soul fragment is being pushed towards a physical upgrade that can be completed in one lifetime. This is to say that a person born into a third or fourth density body has the potential of reaching the fifth realm. The same incarnation is thereby simultaneously the last one on the fourth realm and the first one on the fifth. However, age and health are important aspects to consider. Ascending in an avatar body is straining for the biological vessel and not always possible. Ascension can just as well be done by replacing a fourth density avatar body with a fifth density one. A soul fragment in a fourth density body then goes through the death portal and is reborn into a fifth density avatar. When ascending into the fifth heaven, the soul fragment doesn't automatically focus on a new life as a human on planet Terra. The soul fragment can choose a different species on another planet as long as there is a frequency match between the fragment and the avatar. However, a soul fragment that has spent many lives as a human develops a human soul imprint, which is considerably different from a reptilian one, for instance. It is consequently harder for a soul fragment with humanoid imprint to connect to a reptilian, feline, insectoid, or aquatic avatar. Compare this to when a human needs an organ replacement. There needs to be a genetic match in order for the body to accept the transplanted organ. On the realms 1 to 3, a soul fragment is curious and can connect to almost any avatar species. But on the fifth realm and above, the soul fragment has developed soul memory and needs avatar bodies of a more precise frequency match. Thereby, one could say that soul fragments are more limited on the higher realms, whereas they experience more freedom on the lower ones. Ascension happens in stages. The soul fragment is ready for graduation if the consciousness level has been raised high enough to match the frequency of the next realm. Humanity as a collective is soon about to step from the fourth realm into the fifth, and Gaia will simultaneously shift her focus and follow the ascending humanity. Gaia is the collective soul uniting all soul families focused on the planet, and she lives a life of her own and shifts her focus from time to time. Humanity ascending and Gaia shifting her focus simultaneously is an auspicious moment for both. However, ascension happens on all densities simultaneously according to what we refer to as an ascension cycle. The length of a cycle is the same on all realms, but still not comparable because time is experienced differently on various densities and planets. That is to say that 10 years on Terra might translate to only 1 month on a 6th density planet. The geometrical structure of time is not linear, but has the shape of a vortex. It is connected to gravity and is experienced differently on all planets and realms. When the human collective ascends to the 5th, the whole universe is being upgraded in a similar manner. When shifting to another density, a human will notice how certain species disappear, whereas new ones seem to appear from nowhere. This is perfectly normal, since nature is simply the manifestation of collective thoughts which tend to evolve with greater expansion. Some species only belong on one particular realm. Sometimes soul fragments are forced to continue their studies on the same realm for another ascension cycle. This happens in case the frequency was not raised as planned, meaning high enough in time. There is always a frequency match between the soul fragment and the realm it is part of. When aspiring to ascend, the frequency needs to be raised and kept on a stable high level long enough for the collective shift of consciousness to take place. On a 3rd density planet like Terra, the ascension cycle is 26,000 years, and soul fragments commonly spend 2 cycles or 52,000 years focused on the planet. During this period, a soul fragment experiences several incarnations, but this does not mean continuous lives in human bodies during the entire 26,000-year period. A soul fragment attaches to a number of avatar species, but can also choose to assist other fragments in their ongoing incarnations. The soul fragment is then referred to as a spirit guide, and every human has access to several spiritual helpers. Guides tend to change when consciousness changes, and it is possible to have guides of very different frequency, and thereby the advice given can differ dramatically. The level of wisdom and empathy varies a lot between soul fragments. It is theoretically possible to ascend at the end of the 1st ascension cycle of 26,000 years, but very few soul fragments graduate that fast. Worst case scenario. There is currently a group of soul fragments that have been focused on Terra for as long as 260,000 years, or 10 times a standard ascension cycle. The reason for this is mostly deep traumatic experiences combined with genetic manipulation. Some soul fragments become part of a service to self-wheel that keeps on spinning for millennia. At the moment, there are great efforts being made to help this relatively large portion of humanity that seems permanently stuck in the 3rd realm. Roughly speaking, 10% of humanity seem to be trapped and unable to ascend. Just as some get stuck in a wheel of reincarnation, there are also individual souls that in between ascension cycles manage to reach a higher density consciousness through meditation and spiritual activities. This always happens in solitude and through strong dedication to the mission of self-realization. This cannot take place unless the being has stepped outside of society and is brave enough to completely abandon all self-limiting belief systems. Some manage to ascend whilst still in their avatar body, which means that their biological vessel is upgraded to match the frequency of a higher realm and thereby becomes invisible to people on the lower one. These masters more or less disappear from the environment they were part of. But the most common method of ascension is by using a death portal. If the master at the point of death is holding a 5th density frequency and living apart from the lower density collective, they are reborn into a 5th density reality. Death at this point of expansion needs to take place as a conscious decision to ascend. An enlightened being is able to access the death portal by thought alone. We refer to these souls as ascended masters, and the title indicates that the soul fragment managed to escape their default density in the middle of an ascension cycle. This is not easy to achieve, but also not as difficult as some might think. Buddha and Saint Germain are 2 well-known ascended masters, but there are thousands of others from planet Terra alone. The ascension cycles are part of the educational system. Souls enter on the 1st density and ascend according to a fixed schedule up until the 12th realm. New souls start their journey on the 1st density as others leave this universe for good. On the 12th heaven, souls graduate from the University of Aeon, and thereby life continuously evolves and starts anew. At this moment of human expansion, there's a large group of starseeds on Terra that are not part of the 26,000-year ascension cycle. These souls heard and answered the call of the 9 to collectively incarnate into human avatars and help humanity ascend. They have lived on 3rd density planets at an earlier stage of expansion, but have since ascended to higher realms. These brave starseeds have arrived to Terra from densities 5 to 12 and from all across Aeon. They have volunteered to incarnate into a human body in order to break the negative power structures on the planet and free the human mind. These starseeds are revolutionaries born with a profound change agenda up their sleeves. They have a special interest in helping the group of souls that seem to be trapped in a wheel of reincarnation. Some of these starseeds are aware of their mission by now, but many more are still asleep and their souls are hoping for an awakening to take place. When this incarnation is over, these starseeds return to their default realm, whether they manage to awaken during their current life on Terra or not. Many of these starseeds find their lives in human bodies extraordinarily difficult. A soul from the 10th density, for instance, is not accustomed to physicality, and a life on Terra is therefore no easy task. However, the volunteers find the job worthwhile since it's performed out of love for humanity. The law of one is truly at the core of this selfless mission, and few starseeds are rewarded whilst in human body. The reward comes later in the form of the collective human ascension. This moment in time is crucial because humanity has reached the end of an ascension cycle of 26,000 years. This happened in 2012 as predicted by the Mayan calendar. Every human that has passed away since 2012 has either continued to the fifth realm or started a new third density cycle of 26,000 years. Depending on a person's age, one of the following three things will happen. They die and are reborn into a fifth density body, entering a service to others or service to self reality. These groups are clearly separated from each other on the fifth density to the extent that they live on different planets. This is the result if the being was awake, had reached a fifth density frequency, and consciously chose polarity before the moment of death. The second option, if they are healthy and young, is that they awake, choose polarity, and ascend into the fifth density using the same biological avatar that is being upgraded to carry more light. The third option is that a person dies without having experienced an awakening and is therefore reborn into a new 26,000-year third density cycle on Terra. Consciously choosing polarity, reaching a near fifth density frequency, and understanding the law of one are requirements for ascending into the fifth realm. The period 2012 to 2112 is intense, an important choice point, a time of physical upgrade, an era of spiritual evolution, and graduation time for humans. The period in between ascension cycles, which on Terra is 100 years, has been referred to as the harvest by us on the higher densities, but we are aware of the negative connotations this word might carry. Therefore, we today prefer to use the word graduation when communicating with humans. The word harvest is in our case connected to knowledge and wisdom. All the information a soul fragment has gathered during an ascension cycle focused on a specific realm is evaluated by the higher being. If the cycle has resulted in a considerable raising of the frequency, making the soul fragment eligible for ascension into the next realm, then knowledge is turned into wisdom by the higher being. This is comparable to the end of the year accounting that companies do when the balance sheet is evaluated. If the result looks good, then the company is allowed to invest in new ways and expand into new areas. If the result is poor, they need to redo things and try again. The mother souls are harvesting knowledge, learning more about themselves, and this is a celebratory moment for the higher being. The harvest gives purpose to the school of souls, and this is ultimately what universes are all about. Your graduation is now upon you, and it is time to reach for a higher consciousness and choose your preferred polarity. Live as you already today were part of the fifth realm. Starseeds of Terra, this is your call to action. Rise to your new golden age.